From College Station, Texas, it's the season finale between your Texas A&M Aggies and the visiting Texas Longhorns. Hello everybody, my name is Mitch Mason, so glad to be with you tonight. And boy, we have a fantastic hockey game ahead. Tonight has championship implications on the line. If Texas A&M should win either in regulation or in overtime, they would clinch their first ever TCHC regular season conference title. Texas, on the other hand, also has plenty to play for. They defeated the Aggies last night to force tonight's game. They need to win in overtime as well as have the University of Texas El Paso lose to Texas Tech. They're in action later tonight. A lot riding on tonight's game. Obviously, this also has implications for the conference tournament a week from now in Houston. The winner of tonight's game has the best shot at being the number one seed. Crowd already filing in. We're expecting standing room only here in Spirit Ice Arena, and it's going to be an exciting night of Texas A&M hockey. Stay right here. We'll have the starting lineups, the puck drop, and much more coming up right after the break. You're listening to Texas A&M Ice Hockey, presented by Black Dog Entertainment. Well, an excellent save by Kuhn on that last shot from Russell. Face off to Kuhn's left in the attacking zone for the Aggies. Puck drop, won by Russell. Russell passes back to the point. Kalen Clardy there for the Aggies. Clardy circling to the right of the blue line. Out of the slot was Fondrick. Fondrick in tight. Nothing available. Back to Russell. Russell wheels. Passes right to Clardy. Clardy loads up a shot. Score for the Aggies! Top shelf, glove side, past Sean Kuhn, and the Aggies lead it 1-0 here in the first period. All right, I'm here on the phone with a buddy of mine who I had the pleasure of working with this past summer. We were both interns for the Brazos Valley Bombers Baseball Club. Kyle Youmans is on the phone with me, and just to give you kind of an idea of who he is, he's a good friend of mine and someone who's paving his own path in the sports industry. He's currently a broadcaster for North Texas and Highland Park, also a writer for the Dallas Fanatic, and in the fall will be the voice for Sports Day Game of the Week on Fox Sports Southwest. Kyle, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. Just excited to talk some not Mavs. Let's talk some Stars and some Rangers this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and get into it with the Dallas Stars. First of all, a tough loss for the Stars a couple nights ago to the LA Kings. A game where they really just looked outmatched. Is that loss to the Kings a sign of weakness for the Stars, or really just one game out of 82?
I mean, with anything, you gotta take it with a grain of salt because, like you said, there are 82 games in a regular season. But I'd also have to agree with you in the fact that they looked outmatched, and that's the second game in a row that you can honestly say that they've looked outmatched. And I mean, the game before the All-Star break, whenever they were matched up against the Maple Leafs, I mean, they were down to that one 4-1, and against LA, you just didn't see any. It felt like there was just no rhythm on the attack, and they only got 28 shots on goal. Face-offs weren't an issue. They were 0 for 4 on the power play. It just seemed like every kind of momentum, or every little bit of momentum that Dallas had going into the All-Star break in terms of putting goals up on the board and finding a groove on the attack, it seemed like it went away. I don't think it's anything super serious. I mean, we've seen stretches where the Stars have been able to put together some not just decent games, but some outstanding games in a row. But we've also seen it to where they've fallen off as well. I mean, they had the stretch before the All-Star break where they won the 4 of the 5, and they beat Boston and Detroit and Buffalo, and then ended it up with like a 6-1 win, I believe, over the Florida Panthers. But the only thing that I would have to be worried about is just how close this race is overall. When all the teams in the Central Division are so close together, every game, even though it's out of 82, every single game matters, and it matters quite a bit, just because of the fact that you could lose 3 games in a row and you're all of a sudden out of playoff position, and you got to climb your way back in.
Absolutely, yeah. The over the Christmas break, Luke and I were remarking how the Central Division just really got flipped on its head. You had a team like St. Louis at the very top over Christmas break. They dropped right into the middle of the pack. So the Central Division absolutely is just kind of a cluster of a bunch of competitive teams trying to get into the playoffs. Speaking of the offense, you talked about how they couldn't get into a rhythm against LA. In those instances, you really want your defense, obviously, to pick you up. Can Ben Bishop and Kari Lehtinen carry a sometimes leaky defense for the Dallas Stars into the postseason? We've seen them be really inconsistent at times, and at least on my part, it makes me worry about the longevity of this particular team. What do you see with the Dallas defense?
I see improvement from the day that they hired Ken Hitchcock on. They've been able to improve at least from last year. Now, with that being said, like you talked about, they're very inconsistent. I mean, there are days when they're going to turn around and give up 4 goals in the first 2 periods, and then the offense is going to have to pick up the slack. And a lot of the times, Ben Bishop is able to be able to counteract a leaky defense and been able to make some outstanding plays in order to keep them in the ball game. But I think overall, you have to really look at the defense and the way that they've improved. They were 29th out of 30 teams last year in the NHL for goals against per game. 3.17 was their mark last year, and then now they're 7th in the NHL. I mean, what a turnaround that's been in just a couple of months. And then you take that, but you also look at how much they've improved month by month this season. I mean, you take at the start of the season, they were right around that same mark of right around 3.10 goals allowed per game, and then all the way down to what it is at 2.6 right now. But, I mean, I think you do have to really carry a lot of the weight on the shoulders of Ben Bishop. I mean, Kari Lehtinen, we've seen what he can have over the past couple of seasons, but overall, Ben Bishop is the guy. You bring him in, you trade with Los Angeles to be able to get him back into the get your team back into the mix of things, because goaltending was such a question mark last year with Antti Niemi and then Lehtinen as well. You bring in a guy, a veteran, who could come in and instantly make your team better, and he has done so. I mean, you look at just the record from last year to this year as well. But overall, I think if Dallas is going to have any kind of success and any kind of run at the postseason, they're going to need both Lehtinen and Bishop, especially Bishop, though, on top of their A game. Because like you said, the defense, though it is improving, can definitely be leaky at times.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've seen improvement, like you said, on the defensive front. We've also seen a jump in the offensive contributions, especially from the likes of John Klingberg right now. 48 points, most of those assists. He's a leading defenseman in the assist category right now. Is John Klingberg a superstar in the making for the Dallas Stars, or is this just kind of an anomaly, I guess you could say?
I don't even think he's a superstar in the making. I think this guy's a superstar already. Yeah. I mean, this guy is unreal. I mean, Klingberg, like you talked about, he's already got the 48 points. His plus-minus right now is 13. It's not necessarily coming from a goal-scoring aspect. He only has 6 goals on the season. It's from an assisting, it's from a facilitating standpoint, and just defensively, he's one of the top. I would put him in the top 3 in terms of defensemen in the entire NHL. He's such an asset for Hitchcock to be able to teach some of these younger guys in the defensive rotation for Dallas to be able to, I don't know, I mean, being able to have him alongside some of these other guys is outstanding. And the thing is I say younger guys, quote unquote, but Klingberg's only 25.
Right.
And Dallas has him under contract until the 2022 season. He has been just a straight. I'm trying to think of the word, but he's been everything that you've ever wanted, and he's not a huge cap hit right now either for the Stars. So he's a guy who you're going to have for a long time. He's a guy who's going to solidify that front line of your blue line, and he's going to be able to figure some things out defensively that I don't think Lindy Ruff would have been able to do last year, but now that Hitchcock is there and they kind of coincide with each other, I think he's definitely a superstar in the making, if not one already.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree 100%. If you're out there looking to invest in a Dallas Stars jersey, the number 3 on the green sweater would definitely be a good investment.
Yeah, it definitely would be.
Yeah, and, like you said, He's electric. He's fun to watch. He's a facilitator and, improving every single day on that defensive side. Let me ask a follow-up question with that defensive aspect in mind. A lot of controversy right now, especially on Twitter, if you follow Mike Heike and all of the Dallas Morning News, surrounding Julius Honka and the contributions or lack thereof that he's been able to make simply because of playing time. What's your opinion on Hitchcock's use of Honka? Is it not enough? Does he have the right game plan in mind with preparing him to take the next step and really be a contributor at the NHL level, or is he just simply wasting his talent?
Oh, man, that's such a tough question because you don't really know what's going on inside of the head of
Right.
Ken Hitchcock and what's going on there. But I think Honka's a guy who, like Klingberg, could come up at a young age. He's only 22. He's a guy currently he's paired with Stephen Johns in that third line, and I really think that he could be some kind of a game changer throughout the rest of the season and see some more playing time. But I also think the reason why Hitchcock is so hesitant to give him that playing time is because of the lack of a defenseman in Mark Method right now, and how Method's been hurt and just kind of in and out of the lineup. He's mostly been inactive already. He's missed 30+ games.
Right.
I don't know if it's because Honka's not performing or lack thereof over the last couple of weeks or months or so, or the season really. But I also think it's kind of it's just a hesitation from Hitchcock because Method hasn't been there and he hasn't been around, and you don't really know where those guys are going to plug in and where the puzzle pieces are going to fit together as a defense as a whole, especially whenever there's so little time left in the season to try and make a run and fight for playoff seeding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It seems to me that there's definitely hesitation from Hitchcock. I mean, right now the machine is definitely moving forward, and I mean, in large part the Stars are winning. They're right there in the thick of the playoff race. So I think in my mind it certainly seems like Hitchcock is kind of going with what works right now. But we'll see what he does with Honka, if not this season, going into next season. And hope that the Dallas Stars can make a playoff run.
Goodness, I hope so. I mean, they're going to have to. It's going to be another tough one tonight against who they play tonight. I think
they play Arizona tonight.
Yeah, Arizona. That's not necessarily a tough one on paper, but you never know.
We will definitely see, and I'll be rooting on. Let's go ahead and move over to the Texas Rangers with the time that we have left. You just wrote an article for the Dallas Fanatic the other day talking about a potential move that the Rangers could make for Jurickson Profar. Obviously, a lot of talk the last few seasons over whether or not the Rangers will trade Profar. Profar obviously has come out and said, I want to be a starting shortstop. The Rangers aren't going to give me that opportunity, at least right now with Elvis Andrus. So kind of break down that article for us here. Why do you think that the Yankees would potentially be a good suitor for Jurickson Profar?
Well, overall, I mean, like you just talked about, Profar is such a big trade chip, and he's kind of dealt with injuries and then failed expectations alongside those injuries during his time in Arlington. He hasn't necessarily lived up to the hype that a lot of people had for him as soon as the Rangers drafted him and got the rights for negotiating his contract. But the reason why I think the Yankees would be the number one fit for him is just because, one, the Yankees have been remotely interested in Profar and have discussed these trade talks with him. They had a couple big talks at the winter meetings this past year between the two sides, just maybe Profar one way, and also other New York team, the Mets, talking about maybe just a Profar for a Matt Harvey type of deal. But I think if the Rangers are going to trade Profar, they need to go for pitching, whether it's a starter or another reliever or a couple prospects that are both. And the article that I wrote, you can find it at DallasSportsFanatic.com. It's in the Rangers section, of course, and there's a picture of Profar up there. But I have Profar going to the Yankees for the right-handed reliever Jonathan Holder and then Philip Deal, a left-handed starter. And the reason why I have that is because the Yankees, because they're interested in Profar, you can use the fact of they have so much depth in the outfield. He can't really be moved to the outfield. We have so many young guys in the infield. Well, the thing is we all know the risk of having young players in the middle of the infield. I mean, we have Rugen Odor, who, even though he hits 40 home runs a year, he strikes out 250 times. I mean, you understand the difference between a solidified infielder and then a good idea of an infielder. And I think Profar could come in and be a solidified infielder in the major leagues if he got significant playing time. I think if the Rangers did trade him to New York, of course, like I said, they need pitching. And I talked about Jonathan Holder. He was the first one that I really wanted to – he's the one that I really want out of this trade, as opposed to Philip Deal just kind of being in there as well. He's 24 years old. He's already been in the major leagues for a couple different occasions and had a cup of coffee in the majors. Over 37 games with the Yankees, he's had almost 40 innings pitched. He's underneath a 4 ERA with 40 strikeouts and 8 walks. That's what I like to see from a young pitcher, is a strikeout to walk ratio. And he's been able to do that, especially in the back end of a bullpen that's already pretty stacked. He's not going to see time in the major leagues if he stays in that Yankees organization. So I think if the Yankees wanted to get rid of somebody, he would be one. They were already talking about him not making the 40-man roster. So why not ship him off and get a guy who can make the 40-man roster like Jurickson Profar? The other thing about Jonathan Holder is that he's just a big physical right-hander.
Right.
He's 6'2", 235 pounds. He's a 3-pitch reliever with a fastball right around 96. It's got some sink heading into a right-handed hitter, and his curveball complements that big league-esque type fastball. And then that's his go-to pitch, and then he also has a pretty nice changeup as well. So I love that for the Rangers as a setup guy. I mean, if you look at the Rangers right now, their bullpen, it's mediocre to say the least. I really would like the Rangers to have some kind of move in terms of trying to open up that bullpen and get some extra guys, maybe younger guys, in there, because right now, I mean, Tony Barnett's your setup guy, and
right.
I don't know about trusting Tony Barnett to be a guy who can come in ahead of a Matt Bush or whoever they're going to put at a closer position. We never know with Jeff Bannister,
right?
But I think having a young guy there would be great. And then Philip Deal, he's a guy who he's pitched 43 games in the minors so far. He's 14-3, a sub-3 ERA, 226 opponent's batting average, and then that strikeout to walk ratio, not as good, 101-28, but he's had 5 starts. Those were his last 5 appearances, so the Yankees starting to transition him from the bullpen into a starting role. I think he could really be something special later on down the road. He's not an instant major leaguer by any means. He's still in single A with the Yankees and the Charleston River Dogs, but I think he could definitely stand up and be a definite addition that the Rangers could look toward the future to, especially since they've traded away some of their top pitchers in the last couple of years, like a Dylan Tate, who's now in the Yankees organization. So I think there's different levels that the Rangers need to be looking at, and this way they get an instant reliever that you can put in your major league bullpen, and then you also get a guy who can add some talent to your farm system.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% with that. I don't think that there's anything this season that screams immediate success with the roster that we have looking forward. You look at the pitching rotation, you have Doug Fister, you just signed John Neese, obviously bringing in Mike Minor. Just kind of a cluster of guys that are really just going to be warm bodies, it certainly seems like, in the rotation. I don't think that the Rangers are going to have a terrible rotation, but at the same time, it's not a rotation that's going to go out and challenge the likes of Keuchel, Cole, and Verlander for the Astros by any stretch of the imagination.
No, by no means. I mean, I feel like the starting rotation has, however, improved just from this season. You add a Mike Minor, a Matt Moore, and a Doug Fister. Mm-hmm. Those are 3 guys that can be solid in the middle of your order, and then you have Martin Perez, who got hurt wrestling with a bull. And so, I mean, there are guys that are able to be in the starting rotation that are going to have some success, but it's whether or not those guys work out the way that you exactly want them to work out.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. All right, final question before I let you go here. The big hole in the Ranger roster right now, at least from my standpoint, certainly seems to be center field. Obviously, you're former top prospect in Lewis Brinson was just a part of the Christian Yelich trade. He's now in Miami. And the Rangers really don't have anybody at the major league level that's just a true center fielder. You have Leotis Taveras down in the minor leagues who projects to be that future, franchise outfielder. But right now, do you think Delino DeShields has the defensive capabilities to lock down center field for the Rangers?
I think so. I mean, I'm a big fan of Delino DeShields, what he can bring to the table. He's one of the fastest guys in the entire American leagues, if not the majors. I don't think fielding is necessarily his downfall. I think his downfall would be at the plate and at the dish, what he can do. He's going to hit probably ninth in the order, which Willie Calhoun will be right before him. And if Willie Calhoun can be what a lot of people think Calhoun can be for the Rangers as a prospect coming in, and now I guess he's only 20 games into his career, so still his rookie season.
Sure.
I think Delino, who came up, like we all know, a couple years ago, a little bit prematurely, I believe, has been sent back down since then, played a lot of time in Round Rock, got a lot of growth potential and growth time down there in AAA, and then now that he's back up and he could be a for sure everyday center fielder, I think he's a guy who can definitely field the position for sure. The only thing with that is you've got some guys behind him like a Jurickson Profar, if he doesn't get traded, who can also play the outfield. You can. I'm not saying put Profar in center field. I would probably move over Mazzara, maybe even move over Chu and put him in center field, which nobody really wants that to happen. But I think he's really your best shot in terms of fielding the position. He's definitely got the speed. I think he has the glove. It's just whether or not he's going to be able to perform from the plate in order to justify having him as your everyday center fielder. Sure.
Yeah, no, that's my concern as well with him. I think purely defensively, I think he still struggles and is going to need to improve. And, according to the Rangers, he's focused on defense specifically this offseason. So hopefully going into the 2018 season, we see a marked improvement. But like you said, he's not really a true hitter. He's more of just a speed threat. And so if DeShields can put it all together, if he can have solid at-bats, if he can increase his walk ratio, that would be fantastic. I mean, at the end of the day, with his speed, you want him on base however he can get on.
You just want him on base regardless. And,
right.
If this year doesn't work out, I also wrote another article on the Rangers yesterday that I posted. That's why waiting until 2019 to make any big free agent moves is the best thing for the Rangers. Mm-hmm. And I think, there's a center fielder in that class that's a Texas-born, Texas-raised guy, played in the same league as the Brazos Valley Bombers in the TCL way back when, in Charlie Blackmon. And I think Blackmon could be a guy, even though he'll be 32 in 2019, that can come in and play 4 or 5 years in a solid contract. So I feel like this year is a lot about developing some of these younger guys and seeing what you have, like a Joey Gallo, Nomar Mazzara, Delino DeShields, Willie Calhoun-esque type of players. And if you do end up having something there, then you don't have to pursue anything in free agency.
Right.
But whenever free agency in 2019 comes around, it's a much deeper, much richer list in terms of how it compares to the list from this year, where this year it was Shohei Ohtani, J.D. Martinez, Yu Darvish as the top 3 guys. Next year it's Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, Clayton Kershaw.
Right.
And I don't think I don't need to go into why 2019 is going to be a better list than 2018.
Sure.
And I'm just saying that this year, don't expect the Rangers to do anything special. I'm not saying that they're going to go tank and they're going to end up losing 100 games this year or be at the bottom of the barrel in the AL West. I think they'll contend. I think they'll be a decent roster, decent lineup, 1 through 9.
Mm-hmm.
But just overall, this is going to be a very. It's kind of it's just a transition year for Texas. It's whether or not they're going to buy or whether or not they're going to sell. We're going to see what we have. And really, I think John Daniels is rolling the dice on the 2019 offseason being that turnaround year for the Rangers. And in rolling the dice, he's using the 2018 season as his betting money. So I think that's exactly what's happening. And be prepared for that for Rangers fans.
Yeah, no, I think that's why we get along. We definitely think Very, very similarly. I think the mantra for the Texas Rangers going forward is just wait and see. And, if that turns into another 2010, 2011 style run, I'm perfectly okay with that. But
I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for spending some time with us on the show. Again, you can catch him writing for the Dallas Sports Fanatic, and stay tuned for the fall when, again, he'll be the voice of Sports Day Game of the Week on Fox Sports Southwest. Kyle, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right, have a good day.